Welcome to another episode of Till the Last Drop podcast. Today, it's a solo dolo episode, and I want to talk about something that I actually thoroughly enjoy, and it's palate training. Now, guys, I'm talking about palate training. I'm literally just talking about the importance of just your taste in coffee. This is something that I'm still developing because I say that, and I've been doing it for over 6 years now, and there's just I didn't realize until year 2 or 3. I mean, doing coffee, I was just how important was it for me to actually eat the descriptors that are in coffee, right? And so your chocolates, right? So and you're so for example, shout out to Craftsman Kenya. This Kenya has notes of dark chocolate, cooked apple, molasses, and toffee, right? And so I do a lot of cooking and stuff, and so even when you develop when you're talking about a taste and your palate for things to understand texture, to understand how things may feel, and what it can remind you of, right? And so like quickness, shout out to Felipe for talking about this in the last episode, but co-ferments, right? And so even some co-ferments might taste like bananas, Fruit Loops, and have I've had coffees that are co-ferments and be oh, this is like Nerds candy, right? And so, but if you, let's say you haven't had, I know some people are I ain't trying to call nobody out, but if you haven't had an orange in a very long time, and coffee says, "Oh, this has orange in it, and this has mangoes and peaches," and you haven't had those fruits in a very long time, your taste and your brain might not remember what it tastes like, and so it's always so good to be able to importance of growing and just eating different fruits and vegetables and different chocolates and almonds and stuff. And so, because a lot of these coffees have a lot of bold claims, right? And so, one of my favorite claims though was when I and I tried Colombia Purple Fruits from Sebastian Ramirez from Valor, and it was literally like drinking sparkling red wine with like some good sweetness to it, right? And I'm a wine drinker. I love red wine. And so um that it reminded me of drinking a nice a sweet red wine. And but I wouldn't have been able to pick that out if I don't train my palate and eat different even different foods and the different fruits and stuff, right? And so sometimes I even go when I go grocery shopping, I'll randomly pick up fruits I don't normally eat, just so I can know what it tastes like, know what the texture's like, and and so if I'm drinking a coffee and somebody's yeah, this is like a passion fruit, or this is going to be like a mimosa. I need I need to know what that is actually going to be like, because some coffees make claims and you don't get that, or maybe the maybe sometimes the you might not make it right, or sometimes you might not just taste it at all. Another thing, quick thing I want to talk about as well, and when it comes to palate things and fruits and stuff, it's important to understand that I believe that most coffee probably should be tasted in its pure form, in a pure form of hot drip or pour over first in a cupping, or even in a cupping, because when these farmers are growing the beans, going through maybe let's just go, a washed process, and then gets to the roaster, who maybe just does a light roast to the first crack. Then it gets to the barista's hands, and the roaster goes, "This this Kenya is supposed to be dark chocolate, toffee, and let's just say just somewhere in the there's somewhere in the process sometimes can be mistakes made in roasting, sometimes mistake made in like especially like how the barista's preparing it. So like alongside of like also palate training, you also need to know that like you need to be be cautious and be caring of how you're like developing the coffee as well. And so that's like super important to me. And like when it comes to coffee, like drinking black and drinking espresso, and like because I know some people don't like espresso, because it's very powerful, very stout. But it's very important for palate stuff, and especially when you're trying to get notes of different fruits and stuff like that in coffee. And I would say that like when you are doing different cuppings of coffees, I would also say, lay out your fruit, lay out the almonds and your cashews, and even bring in different candies and stuff that you've seen on bags of coffee that, and then just make a bunch of coffees, right? And like make an array, make 4 or 5 different pour overs, or cup it, or and then once you like really start developing those things, um, when you're especially if you're dialing in espresso, making a straight cortado or cappuccino, because espresso really kicks through, and like when it's a milk that's 6 ounces or under, right? And so, um, like that, I think that's the biggest reason now why when I go to shops, especially if I go to a new shop, I go towards their I go and try a cortado first or a cappuccino, because one, I know that you can't you can't really hide back coffee if in a cortado or a cappuccino. If your spro's not dialed in right, like if it's like, especially if it's under extracted or over extracted, you're going to be able to tell. It's a little easier to hide bad spro in bigger cups of coffee, right? And so it's easier to hide bad spro in, like, especially like lattes, right? Let's say you getting a vanilla latte somewhere, and maybe the shot got pulled in 15 seconds. It's easier to hide that, but you can't really hide those things in a cortado, especially if your milk texture's right, and because if you're not like over steaming or under steaming your milk, right? And so like, um, I want to be able to taste and get like the flavor notes even through the milk, because I believe if your milk and your spro is good enough and you have the skills to do it and to pull it off, you don't always have to add syrup, because like if you're always adding syrup, in my opinion, to to your drinks, um, you can really miss out on some really good. It's like coffee and like an espresso, and I even think that with like black coffee. Like if you give me a cup of black coffee and I need cream or I need simple syrup, then it's not good coffee to me, right? And so I want my coffee to be like naturally sweet. I want my coffee to be something that I can like thoroughly enjoy in its form, and I just believe that and wholeheartedly. And yeah, so let me looking even like at my notes here of different things that I've tried, and just my encouragement to you is to always constantly develop the palate. I would encourage people to drink black coffee. I would encourage people to drink espresso, and and um, and even get things while you're doing those things. Get a palate cleanser with it. Like a lot of times in coffee, you see people drink sparkling water, Topo Chicos, and like different sparkling waters, and to like cleanse the palate, so like you can like taste things in between different reps of coffees and stuff like that. And so yeah, I know this is probably gonna be like a really quick episode today, and appreciate you just let me like yap on this episode of palate training, and just I just think it's something really important that we don't that I don't really hear a lot of in like the coffee world, of just like developing the taste. And because I know there's also some super tasters out there, and so like you might like taste insane notes in coffee and stuff like that, and some people don't have that. And like I just and if you're not super tasting, that's okay. Like you can develop a really good palate to try things. I mean, it's the same thing in like, in my opinion, in like alcohol in the food culture. Like me being a bartender, I have to be able to know when I try this cocktail that is well balanced, that you can taste the alcohol, you can taste maybe the fruit juice that you're doing, or topping off with a ginger beer. Like there's different pairings of stuff, because once you develop that palate, especially too, and let's say you get a coffee like this Kenya, and the descriptor you're gonna say dark chocolate, cooked apple molasses, and toffee, and maybe you can make a really good like flavored latte surrounding this coffee, right? And so that like highlights it even more, brings it more to life, right? And so because a lot of times we just take a lot of coffees and then we just want to add all these different sweeteners and stuff, and when a lot of times we don't want to be creative, like let's be more creative in when we're making these lattes. And like um there's a lot of shops that I go to that are very, very creative when it comes to their drink creation. And I'm noticing too that when they're making these drinks, their spro are very simplistic. They're not they're not just getting like a geisha or like a cold ferment and putting it on spro or something, and then they're just hiding it with like strawberry flavoring or something like that, or something wild, right? It's something that can be balanced and it can be palatable with the spro already. And so, um, yeah, that's this episode of like palate training and just like eating foods. I'm giving you an excuse. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you an excuse to drink coffee and eat food, and there's nothing better in life than doing that. And so, let's let's continue to do that. Let's continue to grow, and let's drink coffee till the last drop.